Diffkushlily. Okay, we're going to... I'm going to say that again because that's really... I thought the book made a mistake. I've read this book how many times, and every time I get to this part... People of Ember, the mayor said again. He looked from side to side. The light glinted off his bald head. Our city has experienced some slight diffkush lately. Times like this require crash passion frushal. Oh, okay. One more time. Hi there, my name is Mr. Pete, and listen, all I can tell you is, I'm a fourth grade teacher, and I gotta come real close here because I'm reading Jean Duprow's The City of Ember book, and we are reading chapter 6, and the title of this chapter is The Box in the Closet. And if you are a reader in my classroom, you right now are probably flipping your lid and saying, Mr. Pete, do not talk about anything. Just read this chapter so we can find out what's going on with this box. Is it the box? How are we going to find the box? Because all you do at the beginning of the book is blah, blah, blah. I know, but that's what, good books are about, talking about them. So I'm talking about it. Sometimes reading is secondary to the conversations that you have. But don't worry, I am going to dive right into it because we want to know what the box in the closet is. So I'm not going to talk much about anything other than this. We know that Poppy got lost and found, and we know that Dune found Poppy. What does that mean for the future? We don't know. We also have these colored pencils that Lena bought from Looper, who comes back into play. But let's find out about this box in the closet. Is it the box from the instructions way at the beginning of the book? Chapter 6, The Box in the Closet. It was strange how people didn't talk much about the blackout. Power failures usually aroused lively discussion with clumps of people collecting on corners and saying to each other, "Where were you when it happened?" and "What's the matter with the electricians? We should kick them out and get new ones," and that sort of thing. This time, it was just the opposite. When Lena went to work the next morning, the street was oddly silent. People walked quickly, their eyes on the ground. Those who did stop to talk spoke in low voices, then hurried on their way. That day, Lena carried the same message 12 times. All the messengers were carrying it. It was simply this, being passed from one person to another. 7 minutes. The power failure had been more than twice as long as any other so far. Fear had settled over the city. That's hyperbole. But it does mean that everybody is afraid. Lena felt it like a cold chill, simile. She understood now that Dune had been speaking the truth on assignment day. Ember was in grave danger. The next day, a notice appeared on all the city's kiosks. Town meeting. All citizens are requested to assemble in Harkin Square at 6 p.m. tomorrow to receive important information. Mayor Lamander Cole. Now we know the mayor's name. Perfectly normal name. Lamander Cole. You should all name your next dog Lamander Cole. Or maybe your kid. Or perhaps, your fish. Hello, Lamander Cole. What kind of important information? Lena wondered. Good news or bad? She was impatient to hear it. The next day, people streamed into Harkin Square from all 4 directions, crowding together so close that each person hardly had room to move. Children sat on the shoulders of fathers. Short people tried to push toward the front. Lena spotted Lizzie and called a greeting to her. She saw Vindy Chance, too, who had brought her little brother. Lena had decided to leave Poppy at home with Granny. There was too much danger of losing her in a crowd like this. So she's learned her lesson. And like I tell you, mistakes happen. Learn from them. And Lena's smart enough to have done that. The town clock began to strike. 6 vibrating bongs rang out, and a murmur of anticipation swept through the crowd. People stood on tiptoe, craning to see. The door of the gathering hall opened, and the mayor came out, flanked by 2 guards. One of the guards handed the mayor a megaphone, and the mayor began to speak. His voice came through the megaphone, both blurry and crackly. "People of Ember," he said. He waited. The crowd fell silent, straining to hear. "People of Ember," the mayor said again. He looked from side to side. The light glinted off his bald head. "Our city has experienced some slight difficulty. Times like this require Gresh Peshin Frushal." "What did he say?" people whispered urgently. "What did he say? I couldn't hear him." "Slight difficulties," someone said, "requires great patience from us all. But I stand here today," the mayor went on, "to reassure you. Difficult times will pass. We are Meg effin effoof." "What?" came the sharp whisper. "What did he say?" Those near the front passed word back. "Making every effort," they said. "Every effort." "Louder!" someone shouted. The mayor's voice blared through the megaphone, louder but even less clear. "Wersh pashuling," he said. "Pank mushin pank no urshin pank." "We can't hear you!" someone else yelled. Lena felt a stirring around her, a muttering. Someone pushed against her back, forcing her forward. "He said we mustn't panic," someone said. "He said panic is the worst possible thing. No reason to panic," he said. Irony, because they are panicking because they can't hear what he's saying. On the steps of the gathering hall, the 2 guards moved a little closer to the mayor. He raised the megaphone and spoke again. "Solutions," he bellowed, "are being fun." "Solutions," the people in the front called to the people in the back. "Solutions are being found," he said. "What solutions?" called a woman standing near Lena. People elsewhere in the crowd echoed what the woman had said. "What solutions? What solutions?" Their cry became a chorus, louder and louder. Again, Lena felt the pressure from behind as people moved forward toward the gathering hall. Jostling arms poked her, bulky bodies bumped her and crushed her. Her heart began to pound. "I have to get out of here," she thought. Highlight jostling. Jostling means bumping around, like a pinball in a pinball machine. She started ducking beneath arms and darting into whatever space she could find, making her way toward the rear of the crowd. Noise was rising everywhere. The mayor's voice kept coming in blasts of incomprehensible sound, and the people in the crowd were either shouting angrily or yelping in fear of being squashed. Someone stepped on Lena's foot, and her scarf was half yanked off. For a few seconds, she was afraid she was going to be trampled. But at last, she struggled free and ran up onto the steps of the school. From there, she saw that the 2 guards were hustling the mayor back through the door of the gathering hall. The crowd roared, and a few people started hurling whatever they could find. Pebbles, garbage, crumpled paper, even their own hats. At the other side of the square, Dune and his father battled their way down Gilly Street. "Move fast," his father said. "We don't want to be caught up in this crowd." They crossed Broad Street and took the long way home, through the narrow lanes behind the school. "Father," said Dune as they hurried along, "the mayor is a fool, don't you think?" For a moment, his father didn't answer. Then he said, "He's in a tough spot, son. What would you have him do?" "Not lie, at least," Dune said. "If he really has a solution, he should have told us. He shouldn't pretend he has solutions when he doesn't." Dune's father smiled. "That would be a good start," he agreed. "Makes me so angry the way he talks to us," said Dune. Dune's father put a hand on Dune's back and steered him toward the corner. "A great many things make you angry lately," he said. "For good reason," said Dune. "Maybe. The trouble with anger is it gets hold of you, and then you aren't the master of yourself anymore. Anger is." That's personification, giving anger traits of a person, saying that anger can change who you are. by making you act different. Dune walked on silently. Inwardly, he groaned. He knew what his father was going to say, and he didn't feel like hearing it. And when anger is the boss, you get, I know, said Dune, unintended consequences. That's right, like hitting your father in the ear with a shoe heel. I didn't mean to. That's exactly my point. They walked on down Pibb Street. Dune shoved his hands into the pockets of his jacket and scowled at the sidewalk. Father doesn't even have a temper, he thought. He's as mild as a glass of water. He can't possibly understand. His dad is definitely calm. But I do think it's interesting that Dune says this. It does seem like it's foreshadowing something, but we shall see. So we have that line, that big space. So we're either changing time or we're switching over to Lena. Lena was running. She'd already dismissed the mayor's speech from her mind. She sped by people on Otterwell Street going back to open their stores and overheard snatches of conversation as she passed. Expects us to believe, said one voice. He's just trying to keep us quiet, said another. Heading for disaster, said a third. All the voices shook with anger and fear. Lena didn't want to think about it. Her feet slapped the stones of the street. Her hair flew out behind her. She would go home. She would make hot potato soup for the three of them. And then she would take out her new pencils and draw. She climbed the stairs next to the yarn shop, 2 at a time, and burst through the door of the apartment. Something was on the floor just in front of her feet, and she tripped and fell down hard on her hands and knees. She stared. By the open closet door was a great pile of coats and boots and bags and boxes, their contents all spilled out and tangled up. A thumping and rattling came from inside the closet. Granny? More thumps. Granny's head poked around the edge of the closet door. I should have looked in here a long time ago, she said. This is where it would be, of course. You should see what's in here. Granny's in a closet. And she thinks it might be in the closet. And if I remember, the box was in a closet. Could the box be in here? All right, that's all we're going to read today. I'm just kidding. Lena gazed around at the incredible mess. Into this closet had been packed the junk of decades. Hyperbole, sort of, but not really. Jammed into cardboard boxes, stuffed into old pillowcases and laundry bags, and heaped up in a pile so dense that you couldn't pull one thing out without pulling all the rest with it. Highlight dense. Dense is really packed together. It's almost like a Jenga game. We should get one of those giant Jengas. Oh, I wish we could. The shelf above the coat rack was just as crammed as the space below, mostly with old clothes that were full of moth holes and eaten away by mildew. When she was younger, Lena had tried exploring in this closet, but she never got far. She'd pull out an old scarf that would fall to pieces in her hands, or open a box that proved to be full of bent carpet tacks. Soon, she would shove everything back in and give up. But Granny was really doing the job right. She grunted and panted as she wrenched free the closet's packed-in stuff and tossed it behind her. It was clear that she was having fun. As Lena watched, a bag of rags came tumbling out the door, and then an old brown shoe with no laces. Granny, said Lena, suddenly uneasy. Where's the baby? Oh, she's here, came Granny's voice from the depths of the closet. She's been helping me. Lena got up from the floor and looked around. She soon spotted Poppy. She was sitting behind the couch in the midst of the clutter. In front of her was a small box. Made of something dark and shiny. It had a hinged lid, and the lid was open. Hanging backward. Poppy, said Lena, let me see that. She stooped down. There was some sort of mechanism on the edge of the lid, a kind of lock, Lena thought. The box was beautifully made, but it had been damaged. There were dents and scratches in its hard, smooth surface. It looked as if it had been a container for something valuable. But the box was empty now. Lena picked it up and felt around in it to be sure there was nothing inside at all. So we've been waiting for this box, and there's not even anything in it. It's open, sitting next to Poppy. Wait, sitting next to Poppy. It's open. Was there something in this box, Poppy? Did you find something in here? But Poppy only chortled happily. Highlight chortled, vocabulary word. Sort of like talked, but your mouth is like, there's a good definition. She was chewing on some crumpled paper. She had paper in her hands, too, and was tearing it. Shreds of paper were strewn around her. Lena picked one up. It was covered with small, perfect printing. Prediction. What paper is this? And we're going to stop there. All right, so Poppy has found the box, opened the box, and eaten what's inside. Ding! Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me. We found the box, we found the letter, and Poppy is eating it. Super. All right, please make sure you click the like button. Please make sure you click the bell. And please make sure you leave comments so we can have an awesome discussion. What's in the box? What's in the box? Poppy! Poppy! All right, I will see you on the next page. Peace. And if you find a box and you open it and you see some paper inside it, maybe don't eat it, you know? Peace.